Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. It's rare for me to be able to say that I put my tears into a video. Sweat I've done, blood I've done, but tears is new. But making this video about the new Netflix show Adolescence definitely involved tears. It's probably the best show of the year, not just because of its technical genius, namely that each episode is one continuous shot, but because it's a beautiful and gut-wrenching exploration of what is probably the biggest threat to our young boys and girls. But I want to start with this point. The dad of the boy who took the life of the girl in his school, not the worst dad in the show. That prize goes to the police officer. Right at the top of the show, he's introduced as somebody who leaves the real grunt work of parenting to the mum.
Yeah, he knows Tracy will say no, and I'm the soft touch.
What, are you going to reply?
Well, she'll sort it.
And you know that that reflects his parenting as a whole, because after one 5-minute conversation with his son, he says,
And that is the longest he's spoken to me in a while, so.
And the son perceives this as the dad always having somewhere else to be rather than being there for him.
Adam, is this...
Go, Dad.
I don't want to go.
You want to go gym
Listen
or
to
work
me.
or something?
I'm
man.
here.
The door's right there.
And responds by being equally closed off.
I don't want to lift it. I'll take the bus.
The dad even says,
I don't think I'm the right fit for him as a dad.
which sounds like he's one day away from going out for a carton of milk and never coming back, which is a whole other discussion. But what you can see in this clip is he is an absentee father in all but name. By contrast, Eddie Miller, Jamie's dad, was heavily involved in his life, including taking him to football.
And then I took him boxing. Remember I played a footy with him?
And yet despite that active parenting, Jamie went on to take a girl's life, and it's only because Officer Luke Bascom saw that the internet had radicalized a boy in his child's school towards that level of violence that he then decided to take an interest.
Does any of this Instagram stuff affect you? Does it, son?
You don't call me son. You call other people son. You never call me son.
And that frustration from the son is because he can see that it's taken this for his dad to finally show him that level of care. But Officer Bascom was lucky because he was able to reconnect with his son.
I've got some free time. I want to spend it with you. Because I love you.
And I think that's an important point that this show is making, that it's not about passing judgments on parents as good or bad people, because you can do all the right things and it still go wrong, and all the wrong things and it go right. Like when the parents make the comparison between their well-adjusted daughter and their convicted murderer son.
How did we make it here, eh?
Same way we made him.
The show is trying to show us the challenges that modern parents now face because of what's happening online.
Come home, slam the door, straight up the stairs on the computer.
All kids are like that these days, aren't they? You can't keep an eye on them all the time, love. We just can't. Look at that fella that popped up on my phone, going on about how to treat women and how men should be men and all that shit. I was only looking for something for the gym, wasn't I?
And that's why the third episode is so important, because they give you a psychological look at Jamie through the eyes of clinical psychologist Bryony Ariston. And I love how she explains how to talk to 13-year-old boys about issues of men and women, because it's not so effective to talk about little individual issues, and it's also too difficult to talk about huge issues.
I was interested why you got in a fight.
It doesn't matter, it wasn't a proper fight.
I'm interested in what being a man feels like for you.
I don't know.
It's too big a question, right? And the fight's too small a question. Which is why it's more useful for me to see where the conversation goes and steer it a bit into what you think of your dad and your granddad, for instance. The type of men you think they are. Rather than saying, so, Jamie, what do you think being a man feels like?
And that's an important point that this show is making, that we're not going to win this with some huge ideological debate with 13-year-old boys. It's going to take multiple real-world examples to build up a tapestry within their heads about what men and women are and how we're supposed to behave. And you can hear how that attitude is flawed in the little conversations you hear around the kids' school.
Shirt, please. And you, Sean.
Sorry, mate. What the fuck's she on about? Fucking hell. Come, let's go see what the boys are saying.
I mean, that's pretty blunt. What the hell does that woman know? Let's listen to what the boys think. But it goes on.
You know what? I think we're gonna fuck Jamie up. Nah, mate, no point. Oh, yeah, we break in, and break in. How are you gonna do that, man?
Are you guys from Haywood Street?
They're talking about breaking into a police station and beating up Jamie because he took the life of Katie. That's the stereotypical alpha male idea of physically standing up for women, even though just 3 seconds ago they were belittling a woman who dared to open their mouth at them. And they're obviously not going to break into a police station, so they're prioritizing this fantasy of standing up for women, yet at the same time in the real world, crapping all over them. And this comes down to not seeing women and girls as people whose thoughts and feelings matter. And you see that with how he talks about those nudes being shared around school.
No one will send him any of her pictures because he wasn't careful with the one he got.
So you think he should have collected more pictures from more girls before he shared them with other boys?
So he's capable of understanding that a girl wouldn't want her nudes shared around school, but that's only relevant to him to the precise extent that it might prevent them getting more nudes. Which means the girls' feelings have no value in and of themselves other than how they affect boys. Now, why might boys have that attitude?
Do you have any mates who are women?
No.
Like your dad, your mates are male.
If boys don't have any friends that are girls, it means they don't know any girls. So girls are just these pretty things on the other side of the classroom, which lends itself towards objectifying them. Which is why Jamie sees girls as this box that needs to be weakened in order to be open.
Everyone was calling her slag, you know, or flat or whatever, so I thought when she was like that weak, she might like me.
And why might he think that this is the approach that needs to be taken towards romance with girls?
Involuntary celibate stuff, it's the Andrew Tate shite.
80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. Woman, you must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way. Oh, she's saying he's an incel.
He's 13. How can you be involuntary celibate at 13?
I know.
Who isn't celibate at 13?
But Jamie does think that it's normal for 13-year-old boys to be sexually active, and so because he's not, he feels inferior.
Do you think girls are attracted to you?
No, I'm ugly.
And why is he so insecure?
All kids really need is one thing that makes them feel okay about themselves, mate, that's it.
I remember when I was about 8 and I just recently moved schools, and my mum asked me to go find a workbook to jot down the notes on all the books I was reading, and so I went and looked, and I found a book that I used to do the exact same thing in from the previous school. And so when I presented that to my mum, she saw me make that connection and she was like, "That's why I love you, Femi." And so in my head, I linked being smart with being loved, and so I had something that I could always be proud of. Jamie didn't have that experience. For example, when he went to football with his dad.
He'd cheer me on and everything, but when I'd fuck up, he'd just...
I just stood there on the side of the pitch while all the other dads were laughing at him.
He'd just look away.
And I couldn't look at him, man.
Maybe he just didn't want me to see him looking ashamed.
And that looking away of shame, we'd actually seen an example of that in the police station in episode 1. So maybe if he'd shown some pride in his son before that, he wouldn't have had to feel ashamed that day. And I'm not saying that the answer is for all parents to wildly cheer their sons even if they're bad at football. I'm saying, why does it have to be football? Because we know there's stuff that Jamie was good at. He had great grades in school, and he was really good at drawing.
Remember he sat at the table, the kitchen table, and he drew pictures, and he was good, wasn't he? And he stopped that.
And unfortunately, they don't give us details about why he stopped drawing, but given that he kept saying,
I told you I'm not gay.
I wasn't suggesting that you were.
You can make an educated guess as to why he didn't want to keep drawing. You know the phrase, that which we devalue, we feminize, and that which we feminize, we devalue. You know, like how certain jobs, the moment that women start taking over them in that field, you suddenly start seeing that that job is paid less? Similarly, the Andrew Tate shite tells us that stereotypically feminine things aren't worth doing. As a result, kids like Jamie are told that unless they're really good at football and having sex with women, they're worthless.
Well, did you not think you were very good at anything else?
No, I didn't care, I wasn't.
Which is basically the message of Andrew Tate, who's constantly telling boys that unless they have 12 sports cars, they're worth nothing. And it's because of that insecurity that certain men want to go back to more traditional gender roles where men could dominate women. Which is why Jamie's friend even buys a knife to make women subservient again.
It was my knife. I just wanted things the way they were. I thought it'd just scare her.
And Jamie is furious at the idea that a woman could tell a man what to do.
Fucking trap in here! You!
Jamie!
What was that? Signal away like a fucking queen, yeah?
And tries to assert physical dominance over his clinical psychologist in the room several times. I mean, to say the boy isn't in control of his emotions is putting it mildly, but look at his dad.
You wait.
I don't need your mum to get me work. What would I want your mum to get me work for? Hey, I've got work here. Love, I've got lads that depend on me.
No, I know that, but...
Love, she's got college, hasn't she? Right? Do you want to take her out of college? Do you want to ruin her fucking life as well? You can see the anger on his face, the need to physically dominate, even though he believes he loves his wife. And his wife is from a time where that behaviour was deemed acceptable.
Your dad's all right. I'm just giving him space, because that's what I do.
But when they look back on how that affected their kid...
He has a terrible temper, but so have you. But I do sometimes think we should have stopped it.
But when I was his age, my dad used to fucking batter me. I said, when I had my own kids, I'd never do that. I just wanted to be better. I'm not better.
Better, yes, but better isn't always good enough. Better still left him angry and physically domineering. Better still left him not teaching his son how to properly regulate his emotions. And you can hear the traits of a future domestic abuser in how Jamie talks just after he's blown up.
I know you think I'm trying to trick you.
I said that ages ago.
Classic tactic of acting like your past wrongs are so far in the past that they're not relevant anymore, even though it was minutes ago.
Ask your questions. I'll be better now.
Another classic tactic, acting like because you've calmed down, it's the other person's job to also be calm, even though you've just traumatized them. But for me, the most heart in my mouth moment of the entire show is at the end of episode 3, because they make it very clear throughout that this is just a kid.
You want to change your trousers? Yeah.
And throughout this exchange, you can see the psychologist so utterly disgusted with what she's hearing, and yet she's looking at a child who is begging for her validation, and so she has to balance her disgust with her compassion.
I could have touched her, but I didn't. I had a knife. She was scared, but I didn't do that. I could have touched any part of her body I wanted to. I really wanted to, but I didn't. Most boys would have touched her, so that makes me better. Do you like me? Don't you even like me a bit? What did you think about me then?
She hates that she's even touched the sandwich that she made for him, which he bit into.
Oh, God.
This show is absolute 5 stars and needs to be watched by everyone. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics, so Politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.